and we are live with another episode of the 2neSquad podcast. Today is a very, 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 very special episode. We have a special guest. I'm your host, Rad Rim, with my co-host,
Cartoon. How y'all doing?
and I'd like to introduce to you my family friend, my mentor, the legend, the vice president of Jordan Brand, Mr. Howard White. Well, we call him H.
Clap it up. Clap it up.
You know?
Yes.
We got to clap it up for him. So,
Much appreciated.
like, H, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a long time since I interviewed you. Just recently dropped. Your wonderful daughter was kind enough to give me tickets to an early screening, so I saw it before it dropped, nationwide. And just gonna just give you the floor. Speak, Mr.
Yes,
White.
sir.
Speak.
Well, I think it's a tremendous film. And for those of you who have not seen it, I know you'll think that I'm saying, oh, see it because it's about Nike. Or no, I think it's a phenomenal film. I think they did just a great job. All of you out there, before everything got to be so sensationalized and digitalized, I think that films represented something which were magical. I mean, you can go from the Disney films to the, back in MGM early days. And I mean, they represented a magical transformation of possibility.
Mm.
And I think this film, because a lot of the older Nike people, well, that didn't happen, or it didn't happen then, or that couldn't have happened. At the end of the day, they looking through archives, but there's only so many people there.
Right.
And a couple of them not even around anymore.
Right.
So what happens is people, at first it was told from this perspective, or it was Sonny's perspective. Everybody's sitting in a meeting or in a room. Each and every last one of them have their own perspective. And because two people see the exact same thing, does not mean they're going to have the exact same perspective on the same thing.
Exactly.
So I know this for a fact. Somebody says two incidents, they happened at the exact same time. Something awful. Two people, one from across the street, one from this side of the street, they walk out of the house the exact same time. Bam, something really bad happened. One's perspective is, well, I can't leave the house again. The one across the street says, wow, you know what, they survived that, and man, it was transformative. It was transformative to me.
Right.
It almost freed my spirit. I can. They made it. I can believe more. I can understand more. And both of those two people saw the exact same thing. So what you're really looking for is, how do you see something that lifts you? And if you're me, whatever happens, how does that lift you up versus pull you down?
Wow. What a way to start off an episode. We did come up with a list of questions to ask you.
Shoot.
You've kind of already answered one. Well, let's start with this. When the idea of the film was first presented to you, what was your reaction?
Well, actually, they don't present films to you. When they do a film, they do a film. Now, it just so happened Chris Tucker called me, just one afternoon, such as this, and Tuck called me. Chris said, man, what's going on? I said, we talked, and he said, I just got this script. and you in it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, really? I'm in this script. He said, yeah, you in it, and they want me to play you. I said, get out of here. He said, yeah. He said, but a small part. And my agent said, I mean, that's not even worth doing.
Oh wow.
And then he said, well, I know Ben and them. I know Ben and Matt. I can talk to them. But that was before Ben had gone down to talk to Michael
Okay.
to
Okay.
tell him about doing the film. And Ben basically said, hey, if you don't want me to do it, I won't do it.
Oh, wow.
And M said, that's all right. He said, but nothing against Sonny, but the first person that I ever talked to about Nike was George Raveling. And so I think you should put George in there. Then he said, my mom's, it wasn't my dad, it was my mom was the reason that I even went out to visit Nike. She was that reason. So, it's your mother? Yep, it was my mom. And I think Viola Davis ought to play her. So, to a filmmaker, when you say, I think Viola Davis should play my mom's, that's like getting Michael Jordan on your basketball team.
Yep. He just gave you the green light.
Viola Davis. Yeah.
You got the EGOT,
Yep.
Not many
Well,
people have it.
I think that, then that means Ben had to started rewriting some of the script. He said, well, and, if you're going to make a movie about Nike, you have to have Howard White in there. Then he told him about Howard White and who I was. And then Chris and I spent a whole lot more time, just talking about roles, talking about me, talking about how I am. And I must have had Chris talk to a zillion people just to really understand if he's going to play me. First of all, you understand who the character is. Now, all these other people, like Phil and stuff, they research. They don't go in and say, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And Ben talked to me. We talked one night for a couple of hours because he didn't have anything on me. And Michael threw that up so late. So all of a sudden, he wanted to see who I am. Tell me about you. Tell me about what you've done. Tell me about, who are you? So we did that. And then Chris we talked a lot about a lot of things. And so, I mean, you think about it. One day somebody calls you and say, I'm supposed to play you in a movie, which within itself sounds a little crazy. So there it was. Somebody's gonna play me in a movie on a movie screen.
I texted you when I saw the trailer, and I was like, H, how do you feel about Chris Tucker playing you? I already know the answer, but to all our listeners, could you?
Well, I think, for me, and again, it's extraordinarily difficult to see me in reverse. It's hard to see, to look at and say, oh yeah, did he nail you? Oh man, did he get this? Did he get that? And some of the guys called and said, Chris Tucker, man, the guy from Fridays, the guy, he can play you.
Okay.
Rush Hour.
So
Rush Hour, yeah.
No. But I think that what my wife liked most was, his voice. I like the way he delivers things. So I think that could fit very well into you. And so then the more you at home and at ease and comfortable with it, you say, okay, that's my guy. And if anybody's gonna get a chance, I would prefer to be somebody that I know,
Right. Right.
that I can talk to, that's
Right.
going to take information. I had him talk to Jackie, who was Jackie and Annette, my two childhood friends. We played hopscotch, jump rope, skated, marbles. I mean, we did everything together.
Mhm.
I had him. Annette Pink is now, she passed, but Annette, I mean, Jackie's still here. So I had him talk about to Jackie
Mhm.
just to see who I was from this early stage in life. My high school basketball coach, who said, if you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the Big O. I had him talk to my ninth grade English teacher, who said, oh, you were a great writer. So talk to them. I had him talk to my high school teammates. I had him talk to Barkley. I had him talk to college teammates. I had him talk to pros that I work with. I had him talk to all of these people just so he would see who I was. And it would be his interpretation, but at least he could see through these all of these eyes who Howard White is and was and is.
You know, I was opposed to it at first. I always envisioned Denzel Washington playing you.
Mm-hmm.
One of my buddies that met you when you were in Houston a few years ago, bro, he reminds me of Denzel. And then I was like, man, when they do the movie H. White, I think Denzel should play him. So, but yeah, like, you know, like he got the mannerisms down, like big time. And I was at ease after like 5 minutes into the movie. I said, okay, this can work. Now he definitely said some things the real H. White wouldn't say, but
Well, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
Yeah,
yes.
that's the that's the entertainment part of it.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, yes. I think, but you know, that movie in the day's world, I would assume.
Mhm.
I mean, one of my guys said, "Oh, Charles said, I'm gonna take my daughter. I'm gonna take." I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You know that's an R-rated film, don't you?" And so I think, in either we become so comfortable
Mm.
Mhm.
with those things, which obviously for me, I'm still not that comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Uh, Mandy had a screening here
Mhm.
in Portland, which we invited friends and colleagues, and it was good. And I saw some children in there, and I was like, whoa, whoa. After I had to apologize, you
Mhm.
know, y'all probably shouldn't be in here. But, you know, again, I hope the movie got to do what it was meant to do, which is an aspirational. And matter of fact, Ben came out to show the movie to Phil Knight, and I was there, and Chris was there, and
Mm.
and before the movie, he talked about why he wanted to do this,
Mhm.
and what he said was, in his eyes, this is a great American story,
Mm.
100%. I agree.
one that should be told.
Absolutely.
He is an American hero, and so now when he after he one of the most eloquent speeches I have ever heard. So I've written a script. So
Mm.
afterwards, I had to take my script and say, man, here you got the passion that you showed up there, talking
Let's
about this in
go.
front of the field night and Mark Parker and the people that's built it. Here,
Let's
you need to
go.
take this H. White script. I'll
Let's
send it to you.
go. Let's
So
go.
you could see his reverence and
Mhm.
passion. And like he said with MJ, when I saw the passion and reverence that the way he talked about his mother,
Mhm.
I understood immediately what the film had to be
Mm.
with his mom's, and then the way he portrayed and talked about Howard White.
Mm.
I knew who that had to, what he had to do, how he had to do. I mean, because if you watch, when you watch the movie, if you see the little things that actually made the movie, and people that don't meet it, they kind of gloss over it. When he says, H, how'd you sign Moses Malone? Murray Malone, his mother.
Yep.
Murray Malone. So black mothers,
come on,
they to be all and do all in the black community now.
Mm-hmm.
The mothers, the ones that call the shots. So you see how that started frameworking everything.
Yep.
You
And
preaching this Sunday. You preaching.
They need to tell that.
Your mama always said you'd be a preacher, huh?
that mama always, that's right. See, you would listen.
Spoiler alert.
Mama
Spoiler alert,
always
had
said,
to.
Oh yeah, we should have told them they gonna have spoilers in this one.
That's
Should've told
okay.
them they seen it, yeah, it's spoilers.
That line, they got that right. Because I
Yo, for
tell
sure.
I tell Mandy, like, yo, your dad should he should there's still time for you to be a preacher, but keep going. We're listening.
And you know, before we did the screening here, I referenced something because Dak Prescott was here and we talked and you know talked about this his last season, what's going on and into this season, and a song came on. So a lot of the way I see the world and my projection is through music, and the song came on when Zach and I was there was Something So Strong, and it's this kind of African song. And then I talked to him about, it's a guy named Lawrence Anthony. Well, he's not here any longer. He's called the Elephant Whisperer. So over there in Africa, he got in a call and they told him that these elephants had been breaking out of every reserve that they are in. And these rogue elephants, you know, they destroy a lot. And they say, well, the next time they break out, we're going to shoot them. We'll kill them.
Wow.
And he said, well, what I'm supposed to do? We're just telling you what's going to happen. So he went down, he drove down, and he saw the elephants, and they were in the reserve. And the lead elephant, the matriarch. So in the world of elephants, the matriarch is the one with all the power. And then it's her daughter who will, when she's gone, take over the herd. So, you know, they had tried everything with these elephants, you know, they tried everything. And he went and he spent a couple, and he saw what was happening. Then he noticed that they were going to charge the fence. And there's nothing that can hold a herd of elephants back. He stood in front of the elephant, faced off, and he told her, her name was Nana. He said, if you break out, they will kill you. They will shoot you. The whole herd will be dead if you break out. If you stay, I promise you that I will take care of you. I'll make sure everything is okay. I won't let anything happen to you. Nana just looked at him. And they didn't charge. They looked at him, and she just looked at him, looked him in the eye. And she turned her head around and went back. True to him, he would spend nights out there in the reserve with them. He took care of them. He made sure they were okay. Years and years and years later, when they were off the reserve, when he died, a couple of herds walked 12 hours through the jungle the day he died
Mm.
and stood at his house for 2 days.
Oh wow.
And subsequently, every year on March the 2nd, they marched through the jungle for 12 hours to come to his house and stay there for 2 years. Now, let's then take that to the movie. Who is willing to stand in front of a herd of wild elephants to risk it all
Mm.
to say, don't do that?
Mm.
I'll be here for you. Whatever the problem, who has the conviction to stand before that and say, I'm here? So take that to the movie. Who was it that actually saved the day? The matriarch,
Mm.
Jordan, who stood in front of this huge corporation to say, this is what me and my family deserve.
Mm.
See,
Mm.
if in fact one is able to view life and give more to your mental mind power, you won't be a victim anymore.
Mm.
Never say you're a victim, because this is so powerful, and all we have to do is expand that, expand its aperture, and let it acquire. And that becomes increasingly more difficult today because not many people willing to stand in front of the elephant.
Mm. 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 Wow.
Wow.
What I tell you, Cartoon?
Hey man, look, I'm here. I'm soaking up the game, man. I'm just
You
listening.
see, this
I'm
is the
playing
H
this
I
game
know.
every day.
This is the H that I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to break this up
Yeah,
into two
this
parts because I just want to hear you just give our listeners this wisdom that you're giving, because people see the end product, but they don't always see what goes into everything. Like, I watch documentaries and I hear Charles Barkley talk about you, and so many different athletes talk about you and the impact you've made on their lives. And I see you in the Paulo Boncaro commercial, and I'm seeing all of these things, but the people don't know that you were also a mentor to MJ too. They don't know that you also had that strong mother figure. First and foremost, for those that don't know, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Okay, so you were also a star athlete at the University of Maryland, drafted into the NBA, blew your knees, but you also had I read your book, Believe to Achieve. You also had that very strong mother,
Mhm.
taught you integrity. And one thing that you taught me, even a dog can wag his tail when he passes you in the street.
right.
And I think that people don't really realize that you don't get to your level without having like integrity. Without, it really takes a village. So we've talked about this a lot. It needs to be a movie. It has to, because your story is amazing. And side note, my mom said I should play a young you, but just throwing that.
Just throw it in there real quick. Sprinkle that in. Throw it in the universe.
I do this so Howard White impression from my friends. So
Throw it in
But,
the universe.
You never know, right?
hey,
Right, you never
listen,
know these
I
days.
do have background in acting. I'm in LA, but
There you go.
Cartoon has some questions for you because he's so excited. H, like I get to talk to you as much as I want, but I'm just gonna turn it over to him because he's such a
I'm just really soaking it up right now. I mean, B does the interviews great. I sit there, I chop it up. We got a quick little 1-2 punch. So I'm just soaking up all of the information. My first major question, I don't think it was one on the list, but how did you start with Nike and Jordan brand? Like, how did that even come about?
How did I start with Nike? Very interesting. I played ball at Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And my senior year, the year I got hurt, I got hurt one time in college. In high school, I tore my left knee up, and they operated on. They didn't know anything about rehab and all that stuff. Then you tape it up, so you're really playing on one knee. And by the time my senior year came around, I just worn that out. I had after the NIT championship that we had won my junior year, and we were supposed to be one of the top teams in the country. And my knee was just bothering me, and I went to the orthopedic, and he said, "Oh, it'll be fine. Just rest it this summer, and you'll be ready to go." Well, I wasn't ready to go. You know, when practice came, I was trying, man, my knee was killing me. Hell, I could hardly even make it to class after practice day, the day after practice. So that year, I decided I'm gonna get an operation. And I remember coach, no, you can't do that. You can't. I said, well, I'm doing it. And then there was a young guard out of Atlanta who happened to be All-American, but also All-American tennis player, John Lucas. So John took my spot. And you know what's interesting? And I want your guests to think about this. Even a dog can wag his tail when it passes you on the street. So a lot of people would have been bitter. You know, when I came back, oh, it's my team. And the guy, oh, man, it's your team. You tell him, I don't really care that much. So I actually tried to help John become a better player. And when he graduated, he was the number one player picked in the draft by Houston.
Our hometown.
He was the guy I was coaching. I left coaching. And I said, this not going to work for me. So I left. Didn't know what I was going to do, so I got in the insurance industry. And John was going through some things. So when he came back in town, we would spend, a whole lot of days playing tennis and just wanted to make sure that someone that believed in him was always there around him and the whole nine. He was the guy that came over and said, Whitey, I said, hey, what's up, Luke? He said, man, there's this great job. You'd love it. I said, what job? He said, with Nike. And then he asked his wife, he said, there. Whitey, he loved that. She thought, yeah, you love it. And come to find out, the guy that was the Nike rep, then the East Coast rep, had to go to Beaverton. So he had to move back out. He had to move to Nike headquarters. I happened to be looking in the phone book. I was at the office one day, looked in the phone book. Now, for those of you too young to know what a phone book is, it was a book.
The yellow
The
pages.
white pages and the yellow pages. And if you had a phone, your number was in the book. And the businesses were the yellow pages. They were in there. So I was at the office and looked in the phone book and said, let me see who this guy is. Kenny White. Let me see who he is. So, that's like finding a needle in a haystack. You're going to look in the telephone book for a Kenny White or a K White or something. And here it was. I'm looking and looking and looking and looking, and then I see this Kheni White. I said, I bet that's the guy right there. So I called the number.
That's a weird spelling.
Right. Right.
I called it. Tell him. He said, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. Yeah. Cheryl Luke told me about
Wow.
And he said, hey, they're gonna give me a going away party at 507 2nd Street, Northeast Washington D.C., which was where the Nike office was, still is today.
Wow.
So I go and we talk. Send me a resume. You know how that goes. Send him a resume. Several months later, he called and said, yeah, they're going to go in a different direction with that job. So they're going to do something different. Cool. Several months called, and Cheryl calls, and she says, you're going to get that job. I bet you're going to get that job. I said, sure. I ain't heard from these. She said, I bet you're going to get it. So lo and behold, same day Kenny calls and said, when can you start? Here I am at this place when he told me it was Nike, I knew very, very hardly anything about what's a Nike. Nike, what's that? Because we grown up Converse.
Right.
We just came in. I mean, Nike. Okay, what's the big deal? And lo and behold, took the Nike job. Who do you think had just come on board with Nike when I started? Moses Malone.
Oh, yep. Wow.
Big Mo. So Big Mo and I, because I recruited him, we were just like that. That's why when I said Murray Malone, Murray, man, me and Murray was close. We was really close. Everybody was trying to recruit Moses. I mean, every school in the country. And we would be in a hotel and somebody would say they saw Moses. All those grown men would go running out of the hotel trying to find Moses Malone. To me, it was like, are you kidding me? And so one day I drove down, I went over to Moses' house. Had a little kind of like duplex over in the hood. So I went over there and knocked on the door. Little lady come to the door. I said, how you doing, man? My name is Howard White. Is Moses home? She said, no, Tiny not home now. Come on in. Come on in, son. Introduced myself. I went in. And back then, Murray was looking at this. She just come home from work. She was looking at like the edge of night, one of those stories. So we sit down there talking and looking at the stories, and we both went to sleep. Probably an hour or so later, we both wake up. Oh my goodness. She said, oh, I don't know what happened. I was tired. I said, oh, I was asleep too. Don't worry about it. So there you have it. And then she said, I tell Moses you came by. I said, okay. Next time I went by, I told Moses. Then later, me and Moses, he started being at the house. We started talking, become great friends. We really became close. And the reason when he got drafted by the Utah Stars, because one night I was over there, and he said, I went over on a Saturday morning, and he said, Howard, your boys came by last night. I said, who you talking about, Mo? A guy from Utah. I said, well, what? Well, they had a suitcase. They put a suitcase full of money on the table and told me if I signed this, I could have the money. I said, Mo, you didn't sign that, did you? He said, no, I didn't sign it, Howard. I didn't sign it. I said, no, there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. Which took me back to when I was in high school, that junior year, senior year. This coach said, hey, this guy wants to meet you. You should go meet him. And I did. I would go up to Williamsburg, and we would have dinners, and did that a few times, just shoot the breeze. And next time I went, he said, there was a rolled up paper on the desk. There was a blueprint. He said, you can't tell anybody, but if you come to the school, and he unrolled that blueprint. He said, if you come here, I'm building this gym. This will be the arena that Howard White built. We have his own arena. I said, really? Yeah. He said, then you can buy the car of your choice. I got a house about a block away. You can park it right underneath in my garage. Okay? Then we're going to put $10,000 a year at the clothing store. So you can wear whatever clothes you want. Dress nice, however you want, you be good. Cool. Now, to put that in perspective, the mean income that a person made then was about probably $9,000. Then he said, I'm going to pay a sports writer to write about nothing but you. That'll be his job. Every day he wakes up, all he has to do is find a story to write about Howard White. Make sure you make all Americans. Cool. Then we're going to get your mom's one of those big TVs so she can watch all your games. Okay. But if you don't make it to the pros, you can be an executive for life at our Fortune 500 company. So I was like, wow, man. But I didn't go there. But he called back and said, we've looked at the books and we can double everything that I offered you.
Wow.
But at some point in life, what you really learn, you can't be for sale. Because the thing about being for sale, the next time you're going to take the money, it's just a matter of how much it is.
Right.
So that's how I could talk to Moses. That's how when Nike came after me and said, I know if you don't want to be here anymore, you can take the largest severance in the history of mankind. And the simple answer is, you asked me to come here to help you build something. We haven't finished yet. So when I tell people, your listeners, your audience, what elephant will you stand in front of that will make you who you really want to become? See, everybody tell me that they want to become. I'm going to come this. I'm going to be this. I can do this. Yeah. Everybody in the world wants something. And very few people in the world are willing to give up anything to get it. So you can see there my rapport with athletes. I'm not coming to tell them something that's politically correct that the corporation wants or something that's against them. I don't do that. If I tell them something I truly think is going to benefit them. So a little, that movie captures a little bit of that part of me.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Definitely
I mean,
that.
You're definitely a person we can write a list and say, hey, we're going to ask you these books. But I do have one. I want to know, what were your thoughts when Sonny Vaccaro came and said, hey, go check out this kid in North Carolina and tell me what you think? Because if I'm not mistaken, you told me before that Sonny told you about MJ and you went to an actual UNC game.
No. What I did.
Did I get that wrong?
I mean, I watched it. You could see him. I saw games.
Okay.
What I did was, remember, because I played in the ACC, I coached in the ACC. So I just used my contacts. I would call Phil Ford. I would call the different, hey, tell me about this kid. Who is this kid? What kind of kid is this kid?
Mm.
What do you know about him? So that's what I did. I wanted to know him inside and out. The type of, okay, basketball is one thing, but what kind of person is he?
Mm.
What's his family like? Those things to me are pretty important.
Right. Right. No, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
it's when I think of you, I think legacy. Um, I think everybody wants, every man at least wants to have like such a legacy, so that when they're gone, people are still talking about what they accomplished in the earth. And you and I had talked about Moses Malone before,
Mm.
and a little before I moved from Houston, I started seeing him in my area. I guess he lived not far from, and I kept bumping into him all the time, and he was so polite. And after you had told me the story, when I interviewed you on my vlog years ago, we talked about him off the record, and you were saying how you kind of like brought him in and you scouted him. So every time I saw him after that, I thought of you, but I never went up to him and said, "Hey, I'm a friend of HY too." I never mentioned you to him, but every time I saw him after that, I was like, "Wow, look at the legacy
Mm.
that this man has left." Like I'm running into Hall of Famers, top 50, top 75 athletes, and they're connected to me through such a great mentor who's just leaving this legacy. What's next for H White?
uh, what's next for H White? I don't actually look in terms of what do I want to do next in my life,
Mm.
Mm,
but I've never looked at that
mm,
because just maybe there's something out there that knows where I need to be, when I need to be, that sees the world a whole lot bigger than I do.
Mm.
mm,
My world, my world in being has consisted of others, somebody else seeing more in me than I could have seen in myself. That
mm,
high school basketball coach, I couldn't even play basketball. I literally could not play basketball. I might have been a really good athlete. Uh,
mhm,
when I went to the junior high, which was White's Thomas, which was all black, I went to the junior high across town. Then we moved out to the woods. I call it, with my mother's sister, with my aunt. Her husband had just died. They had no kids, so we moved out in the woods. On one side, they they said if there was a sign that said if you're here when the sun go down, you won't see it come up. So you didn't go down there.
Mm.
mm,
Then when you walk the other way, you could walk out. You could catch a bus. It was integrated. It was a whole nine. This was right at the beginning of integration. Some
mm,
friends came by and they said they let you play basketball down at this new school, the new high school. So Mama said, okay, yeah, you can go, but get back here before it's dark. All right. We went down, we walked in this gym. Three men, one no kids shooting balls. It was three men, three white men playing, shooting around. And we walked in. They said, hey, you kids want to play a game?
Mm.
So when you're young, what, back then, 17, no, that's junior high, probably 15, 16, say, hey, we can beat them old people. They shouldn't even be playing. They too old. And then they changed the rules where when I played basketball, which was seldom, but wherever you got the ball, you could shoot it. You rebound the ball, and you could shoot the ball into the ball basket. They changed it to you had to take it back behind the line when it changed hands. You got to take the ball to the corner. So the entire game was, no, son, you got to take the ball somewhere else. No, son, you got to take no, son, the ball. They beat us to death. When we were leaving, I stopped to get a drink of water. And that was when you could drink out of a water fountain. Man walks up. He said, "How you doing, son?" "My name is Jim Hathaway. I'm the coach of Kickintan High School." "How you doing?" "I'm Howard White." He said, "You ever heard of the big old Oscar Robertson?" Man, that's like asking somebody if you ever heard of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry. I mean, of course I have. Then he said, "If you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O." Yeah, I couldn't even play basketball. The man gonna lie to me and tell me if I listen to everything. Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to be the brightest person. I went home, I cut trees down, I dug holes, I buried them, I found some plywood, I went on the side of the road and found soda bottles, cashed them in, got some money, went to Western Auto and bought a basketball and a basketball goal. I shot a lot of baskets. That ninth grade year, I was in the eighth grade then. That my ninth grade year, I went to Benjamin Sims Junior High. Kind of was following this girl who did not end up there. And here I was, Benjamin Sims Junior High, right down there in the world where they say you won't come home at night. And you won't come home in the day if you're here at night. 3 kids in that school. Three black kids. Neither one was that girl. But I got to play basketball. I wasn't no good. They weren't no good. Yeah. So I got to play. More importantly, I was voted the most popular boy in school.
Wow.
Even a dog can wag his tail when it passes you on the street. Ninth grade English teacher, Nancy Newstep. "Oh, you are such a great writer. I take your papers home and me and my mother read them every night." "Oh, you're
wow.
Great." Nancy and I still talk. We got a book club. We talk today. Who edited that script that I wrote? Nancy. See, people hear things, but they simply hear. They don't listen. Believe to Achieve. I wrote that book. Why? Because Nancy said I was a great writer. In college, just a single H on my back. Why? Because the Hathaway said, if you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O. That gym today is the Howard White Court on Howard White Way.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So you see, I'm trying to tell the audience that open. It's not whether you believe you can or you can't do something. Open yourself. Open your mind to possibilities. Yeah. So you say, what's next for H. White? I have no idea. Somebody will say something is possible. And I'll say, okay, I can do that. I just had a heart transplant. And they came back and they said, we want to do the Howard White Center for Amyloidosis. I think we're going to do that. Okay, how about that? It ain't something I thought of, but hey, let's make it possible.
Mm.
Mr. Knight, you can take the largest severance in the history of mankind. Most people, well, what is it? You asked me to come here to help you build something. We haven't finished.
Mm.
So I don't look at my life in terms of what's next. I look at my life in terms of I will pour everything into it.
Mm.
And next will envelop itself.
Wow.
Right. Wow.
And it's so amazing to hear you say that, because you obviously, I talked to your daughter. She's a good friend of mine, and I saw you got the street named after you. I wasn't able to travel and go attend, or the unveiling of your gym. And I know you you brought up the heart transplant. She would go in your place to a lot of your events, and
Mm-hmm.
and I was just been watching from afar, and I think that's so awesome, because I prefaced that with legacy, and you had coaches offering you all type of money, and the gym. They said the gym would be the house that Howard White built, and
Mm-hmm.
you went with your integrity and your better judgment, and you still achieved all of those things anyway. You
Right.
still the and more. You got
And
the gym named after you, and the street, and I just think that's amazing, because people ask me questions like, "What is H. White like? What is Tinker Hatfield like?" And my simple answer is, H. White, talking to H. White is like talking to Yoda, and talking to Tinker Hatfield is like having a conversation with Doc from Back to the Future.
so,
But it's just amazing. I just think, well, did you pretty much dropped that bomb here, that so we're gonna get a Believe to Achieve movie, or the Howard White
Well,
story film.
I wrote the one I wrote. Uh, we started working on the script years and years ago. When Believe, the first it was and I Handbook, and then it Believe to Achieve. We were working, but this is heart and soul,
Okay.
because at the end of the day, it's told from. I was going to use the boardroom, and y'all saw the boardroom scene in the movie. And the original thought was, okay, hey, I want to write a movie. How did I get to this place?
mm,
Mm-hmm.
How did I get to a place where I'm sitting in this world? And I remember talking to one of my board, and he said, H, I don't know many people. And talking about being in a boardroom with Michael and all of these people, that's good. But I don't know many people. I don't know anybody with a story like you. I don't think you need a boardroom. You. So as I thought about that, it became, wow, those wheels in the hospital rolling down that hallway. Because that, and then as they clump over that gap between the elevator and the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he goes down into the operating room with the bright lights. And I remember, well, in my script, it's as we're there and they hooking you up. And then the doctor says, yeah, before you know it, it's count back from 100. And what floats through his mind is, I've only known two people in my life to be pronounced dead and come back. One was my high school coach's wife, Barbara. She told me she was floating above her body and about to leave, and they were putting those defibrillators on somebody else. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, but if I leave now, coach won't know what to do. bam. And it was her that those defibrillators was on. And Howard's mother, who they left and they had to bring her back. And the doctor said, when he finally brought him, Miss White, Miss White, Miss White, are you okay? Are you okay? And she said, I'm fine, doctor. Are you okay? And when I talked to her about it, she said, yeah, Dr. Green just woke me up from the best sleep that I've ever had. And then he says, but there are millions of people that say their life flashes before their eyes. And then it goes back to 1950. This woman that's distraught in the hospital, a doctor and a nurse talking. And the doctor says, Nurse Gretel, I don't think that baby will make it through the night. Heavy asthma, premature, 2 week, he probably won't make it through the night. But I've been told that your big mama is a sage, wise person, mystical, they might say. He said, I don't really believe in that because what I believe in is medicine and science. But Nurse Gretel, they tell me that you have those same qualities that your big mama have in you. I don't know if you do, I don't know if you don't. But if you do, maybe a prayer too won't hurt. Then the next day you see the room, the mother and the baby, it fills with smoke. And then you see a yellow taxi going down a dusty road with a bubble of dust covering it. And then when it stops, the woman gets out with the little baby in the blanket, walks up. Her other son is standing on the porch. And she says, and here's your little brother. He's finally home. So that's the start of it. So, life just opens up. So that's how the story is told, through coming back, going, coming back, going. And then he finally, when the operation is over, then it's the nurses and doctors that come through.
Wow. Just the visionary you are. Because see, I didn't even know about this severance package or any of that. It's just every time I talk to you, it's another great story.
Back to the statement that you said your mom told you about the dog waving its tail. Did you ever hit that stop sign right in the middle?
Well, let's put it like this. I never saw the cow jump over the moon and the stars run around the sky. So I don't know if I hit it exactly in that middle. And I think that, but one of the most significant things, if I look at where I have been able to transverse and where I am today, that, even a dog can wag its tail when it passes you on the street, is probably the most significant thing that has ever been told to me.
Right on.
Well, we got 2 more questions. These are just like our last little thank you for your time again. It means the world to me. I'm coming to headquarters soon because I'm going to visit, Mr. Hatfield, Thinker, my man Steve Smith, who also had great things to say about you. He went on to work. He was a designer at Nike. Went on to it didn't work out for him. He was on another podcast I was a part of, and he ended up getting with Kanye West and being one of his main designers. But he was in LA about a month and a half ago, and we were speaking. And he said, "Let me tell you," I said, "Yo, I'm gonna come up to Oregon. I'm gonna visit H. White and Tinker Hatfield." And he's like, "Man, when you talked to H, man, he was just like, tell him I said hello. He said things weren't working out for me at Nike. He said, and I didn't, and he said I in younger designs, I was getting older. And he said they ended up letting me go. He said, but one person, every time he saw me, he would stop. Every time he saw me at headquarters on campus, he would stop and say, Stevie, man, what's going on? And he said he always asked me what was going on, how things were going for me. And he always told me to keep the faith. And he said, I have a great deal of respect for that man because he always encouraged me. He always believed in me. And so he went on to do great things. And I meant to tell you that before, but this is a good forum to do that. So he definitely like sent a lot of love, great things to say about you, high compliments. And I'm gonna text him when we're done, and I'm gonna let him know that you're happy for him. But Mr. Cartoon, he has one final question for you that we're dying to know.
Shoot. Right. So you don't have to have it specifically, but I guess we could say it. What would be your top 5 Air Jordan silhouettes, model, however you want to call it? Your top 5.
This is what's interesting. I just did a GQ interview. My life in sneakers. And this is what's hard. I don't see sneakers like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, because in this journey, I've been there through every last one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like saying, okay, well, which of your children are your favorite? I think that's a disservice to each and every person that has designed them, whether it's Tinker, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Tate. I think that's a disservice because, I've been there, I've been a part of them. Now, I think my favorite designer would be Tinker Hat.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the one that I was the 2, because I had a part in naming that.
Really?
The imagination.
That's actually my favorite too, right there. So, that colorway, awesome.
You think, and they're coming out with an H2. I think.
What?
Whoa! Wait a minute, hold on.
Let's go.
Really?
Let's go.
So it's for the Wings program, so it'll basically just be online, and they designed it. But I think, because what that says to me is the infatuation of this whole journey. And if you can remember back, the commercial, the poster was MJ basically flying in through the air with that white jumpsuit, that white Jordan suit on. The imagination, everybody's imagination should run away with them. Everybody's imagination should wake a world up that they could never even fathom.
Right.
This place where I am today simply says, I've imagined this. I've imagined changing the world, making the world better. My life has been that, through solitary hard work, through standards. My daughter, okay, if you're going to do this, which she was running, no, we ain't going to just we're going to have some standards. She was out in the pouring rain. It was pouring down too. She was training at a trainer. She was training. And I remember I stopped to have my umbrella. And I said, tell me what you see. She said, Dad, it is pouring down raining out here. We the only fools that's out here. I said, but tell me what you see. She said, Dad, the only thing I see is that field full of seagulls. I said, that's right. So When it's sunny out, look for a seagull. And know that it was only you and those seagulls out here in this pouring rain. And I remember the state track meet that morning. It was raining. And when I texted her, I said, remember it was only you and the seagulls out there in that pouring rain. Look for a seagull and follow it to victory.
Mm.
She was MVP in the state,
Mm.
scholarship to go to Oregon. So, how do everything you see for your audience, for you, reminds you of something far bigger? Something that you would have never thought of, but something that will open up your mind.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So, the shoe, man, it took me back to my first deck shoes, crabbing shoes, when I went to that junior high in the ninth grade and got to be on that basketball team. I was wearing crabbing shoes
Wow.
because that's what my mom's was able to get from the marina. I did buy some shoestrings, burgundy shoestrings, and put in them. It won't be about 5 laces, so it won't that hard. And it was a science teacher, Dougie Dwyer, who said, if you're gonna be a ball player, you need some Converse. He said, you bring me $10 and I buy you some Converse. So I went back to those ditches and found soda bottles, cashed them in, came up with $10. And Dougie Dwyer bought me some Converse. I thought I could do anything in the world. When I would ride my bike on a Sunday down in that pouring rain to Fort Monroe with all the older guys and the top guys from that whole district, I knew that one day I would be the best.
Mm.
So all of these shoes that you talk about simply are a reminder that maybe, just maybe, someone will think they can be the best.
Mm.
That's how I felt when I wore them, and that's still to this day when I wear them.
Yep.
Let me ask you this: of all,
He's trying to get it out.
why the Jordan 2 though? Of all the shoes the silhouettes you could have chosen, what made you choose that one?
Well, I think again, I told you Tinker is my favorite designer. That was Peter did that, and Peter Moore. And if you think about that now, for the most part in my career, I wore suits every day. You saw it with Chris Tucker.
Right.
I wore suits every day. I wore suits every day. So a suit that, if you think about it, Italian leather,
Mm-hmm.
iguana skin,
Mm.
the imagination that I named. Okay, then there you go.
Mm.
Makes sense.
In attempts, just my imagination. Yeah.
Once again.
Me. You and Tinker with the suits and the hat. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
H, as I call you, Mr. White. Thank you for blessing our podcast.
Sure.
It means the world to us. Uh, again, I can't even express in words like what your mentorship over the years has meant to me, and I love you, and I love your lovely wife, your daughter. Y'all are like family to me. I hope you'll come back on again sometime.
We'll have to do it again, cartoon. We have to do it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure.
If you haven't seen the movie Air, please go see it. It's
Go
a
see it.
fantastic film,
Go see it.
and we can't wait for more for Mr. H. White. I can't wait for that Believe to Achieve uh, film. Lastly, where can they find you on social media, Mr. H?
They can't. I do an Instagram, but basically
Love it.
Mandy does the Instagram.
Love it. You say they can't. I ain't playing with y'all. Don't come.
I used to do the Friday night lives, but I haven't really done those anymore. And Mandy updates I guess, my Instagram, her Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been another episode of the 2neSquad Realm with my co-host,
Cartoon.
And our special guest, Mr. H. White. We are signing off. We will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Salute.
Later, troop.
Later.